Welcome back to Fashion Business Mindset. Today's episode is a dynamic one. We're bringing you a live recording of our recent seminar, Growth, E-commerce and AI in Fashion, which we delivered at the Global Sourcing Expo in Melbourne. I had the pleasure of hosting this conversation alongside two incredible industry leaders, Slessor and Christina Exie. Before we dive in, just a quick note that the audio in this episode isn't our usual studio quality. This session was recorded live from the Expo seminar space, but the insights, stories and practical advice shared were simply too good not to bring to you here on the podcast. In this conversation, we explore what's driving growth right now, how to build resilient e-commerce models, the role of AI in shaping our industry, and how founders and leaders can approach sourcing, creativity, and planning with confidence. So whether you're a scaling brand, an established retailer, or a startup, this session is packed with takeaways that you can apply to your business right now. So let's dive in to the live seminar.
Hello again. Welcome back to the Global Sourcing Seminars program. For our final session on day one, we're heading back into AI, the white hot topic, with a great panel who are going to share their perspectives on the strategies shaping the future of fashion and lifestyle brands. The panel is led by Fashion Equipped founder Elizabeth Formosa, a frequent Global Sourcing Seminars speaker. Fashion Equipped is a Melbourne-based consultancy that offers advice on actionable growth strategies with a focus on sustainability. Elizabeth has over 20 years of industry experience spanning strategic planning, brand development, product creation, sourcing, sales and marketing, and she's worked across the corporate sector, private labels and her own wholesale business. She's also a podcast host, as so many of us are these days. Joining Elizabeth for this panel are Slessor and Christina Exie. Kelly is a digital marketing strategist, AI expert, and founder of the Ecommerce Tribe and Tribe Gen AI, who has over 20 years of experience in tech and AI and has worked as an advisor to major companies such as Westfield, Woolworths, B&W, and Super Butcher. She's also the co-founder of the Digital Inclusion Project, whose aim is to foster digital growth and education for underrepresented groups. Christina is a fashion designer and entrepreneur and the co-founder of Stat Studio, a Melbourne-based design and development agency. Previously, she held roles at Rhodes & Beckett, Herringbone Sydney, Sneaker Boy, Project Runway All-Stars in New York, Esprit Germany, and she founded her own athleisure brand called Exie, which is currently on hiatus. Please welcome Elizabeth, Kelly, and Christina.
Patty, for your kind introduction, as always. Super excited to have everyone here for the last seminar of the day. Welcome back to the Global Sourcing Expo. An amazing few days ahead of us. So I am very excited to welcome our speakers today. We're going to be covering everything growth, AI and e-commerce, and probably everything in between. It's all about strategy and helping you to optimize your businesses no matter what stage you're at. So we'll cover sourcing, go-to-market strategy, e-commerce growth, and where AI can make a real difference in real time in your businesses. So I'd like to invite you ladies to introduce yourself. Patty set the scene for you, but it would be great to share with the audience what you're leaning into with your client work at the moment. There's been a lot happening this year. We'll talk about the diverse kind of industry landscape and the pivots, but Christina, we might start with you.
Yeah, so I am the founder of Stat Studio, and we are an end-to-end fashion design agency. So we essentially take startups, hospitality companies, established brands through the process of designing, so concept, through to product development and production, even logistics. So that's the main arm of our business. So for us, we really lean into the creative design. So making unique designs and product through our creative design team. Our team's at the front here, by the way. And we really heavily execute on the technical execution because we find that really sets us apart from our competitors. We're trying to bring really great quality product to market. So that's us.
Amazing. Kelly.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kelly Slessor. I think, it was mentioned before, I've been in retail and tech for 20 years now. About 12 years ago, I came up with this crazy idea of developing an AI platform, and it was a shopping platform for fashion. And the concept of it was that the AI algorithm would know who you are, what the weather was like, what size you were, what season it was, and also who your favourite brands were, and also whether you like your arms, your butt or your thighs, all of that stuff, the important stuff. We built that out over about 4 years with Stanford University, with some major shopping centres, and I learned very early on, before AI was a buzz thing and a cool thing to do, how complex the algorithms are, how it can benefit us on multiple levels. So the company that I run now is called Tribe Gen AI. We educate retailers on how to use AI. We help them develop their strategies, and then we actually build out AI automation workflows and agents for them. So really fun, exciting times. It's a really interesting space at the moment because I think everyone's navigating it and it's extremely overwhelming, and there's lots of new shiny tools out there, and working with retailers trying to just really establish what's right for them, what's going to move the needle, and what's going to ultimately make them money. That's the bit that's the most important.
Amazing. Two experienced experts in their field on the stage today, everyone. So can't wait to dive into this dynamic conversation. So we're going to set the scene for the audience. We're going to really dive into what's driving growth now. And I know that that's a big topic, but we'll lean into some of the key things that are at the forefront of our industry. So this question is for both of you. The market has continued to shift at light speed this year, with many brands navigating both growth opportunities and volatility. We've seen that, very topical. I'd like to ask you, what are the high-performing brands that you're working with doing differently to stay ahead and to keep growing in such a competitive market?
I think one of the things that really stands out is personal brand. So I'm not talking about anything like tech around this, but personal brand. So having a face of the brand and getting really personal one-to-one with your audience and customers, and a way, that's one way to do it, and constantly showing up for them, bringing them behind the scenes like BTS, the processes, how you're building your business, what if you're a fashion brand, how those products are being developed, what's the story behind the brand, and really bringing them into the fold. I find those brands are kind of bubbling up and being a bit more memorable, and there's that personality behind it, so it's easy to build trust that way and push through instead of just kind of doing ads, for example. And then another thing in addition to that would be the ones that are doing activation, so meeting your customer face to face. That could be for example, I went to an activation which was a cafe, so it was, they had hired out a cafe and made it all branded, and a really great brand that's doing this is called Woofie's, so really personable interactions with people, branded coffee, potentially branded food. Even if it's a fashion brand, you can still do that, and we're finding that's becoming, you've probably seen also all over social media as well, a way to connect and a way to drive brand awareness. Not just the bottom line, because we know that brand awareness isn't going to necessarily convert straight away, but it's the long game, keeping that in mind. And a lot of the brands that we work with do have, personalities behind it. It might be Em Lucen of Napoleon, for example. She's huge on TikTok. Some of our clients have created their brands through TikTok, just using one platform. They're able to build multi-million-dollar brands without any payouts, for example.
Yeah, amazing, pretty compelling. Not an easy thing to do. I'm sure everyone's sitting there thinking, but I don't want to get in front of the camera. Kelly might be able to have us create an AI avatar perhaps, where we don't have to actually...
Faceless avatar.
I know. But yeah, I couldn't agree more, Christina. Absolutely love it. Building your personal brand as well as, as you're doing that, amplifying your actual brand. Kelly, same question to you.
Yeah, so actually I went in to have a look at one of my, turn around a little bit, I feel like I've got my back to people, sorry. I had a look at one of a client that I've worked with over the past 3 years. When I first started working with her back in 23, over the past 30 days, so I've done like 30 days from today, so I looked at 23 numbers and she was doing around 20k. I looked at 24 numbers and she was doing 250k in 30 days. She's just done in the last 30 days 840k, so a 840k month. And asking the question, she's what I see as a high performer. I mean, it depends what you measure, but she's a high performer in my eyes. And asking the question, what has she done over the last 3 years? I think the first thing is she's had a strategy and a number in mind and a goal and a vision that the team are trying to get to, and we measure that every single month, and we look at every single tactical implementation against that strategy. One thing I find with volatility is the retailers that tend to drop off in volatile times is the ones that don't have that core strategy that they're working towards, because what happens when you don't have that core strategy is it's very easy to go off track and go, okay, tariffs over here, we're going to stop doing this, or we're going to increase this, we're going to increase spend. Whereas if you've got the strategy, it's like, well, hold on a minute, how do I get to that 250 now? How do I get to that 840? I may have to change some of the elements that go into that, but I know what my bigger vision is. So I think that's the first thing that she's done. The other thing that I would say is invested heavily in social commerce, so TikTok being a big driver of that business, and both UK and US, just explosive growth across quite a few brands that I've worked with. The other one is content production and scaling their content. I'll talk about that when I get to AI, so I won't double up there, but that's been a big piece of it. And the third one has been acquisition costs. So year one, obviously investing in paid ads, TikTok, Meta, all of the things. We saw an increase in cost of acquisition, which was not sustainable. And so one of the strategies for that year was to bring that cost of acquisition down through organic. And we really focused on that. And every single month we came back to, are we reducing that cost of acquisition? Because you can't, scale unprofitably. It doesn't really work for a very long time. Eventually you'll come unstuck. So they're probably the three key things that I would say as like key, as an organisation I say is performing really well. They're the three key things I think have been consistent over the last 3 years.
Yeah, amazing. Two really powerful insights there. I would just add to that I've definitely seen my clients double down on their strategic roadmaps this year. There's been a lot of pivots, but the ones that are really winning and leading have been really quick on their feet to be able to pivot and have that flexibility built into the business rather than being super rigid. Obviously being super connected with your numbers, knowing what your growth drivers are, knowing what your margins look like on a daily basis. It's really, really important. As Kelly said, there's no point scaling an unprofitable business. And as Christina said, getting out there, being on the forefront of your business and really being your own advocate. So two powerful insights there, thank you. We're now going to talk about from sourcing to market. So Christina, this is going to be spotlight on you. This is your area of genius. So for brands developing product today, what are the key success drivers that you're seeing that are coming to light? So across market research, they design, fit, sampling, and sourcing strategy, so that end-to-end from concept to go to market.
Yeah, I think, to start with, I think the brand foundation is really, really key to start any brand. So then we know what exactly we're doing. After that, then we would look at what's happening in the market. So utilising platforms like Particle, which is I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's a platform that's been around for maybe a little while now, but basically it pulls data from all Shopify e-commerce stores, and then it gives you you have complete visibility of, you know, best-selling colors, shapes, what other businesses are trading, everything that you need to be able to make informed product decisions going forward. So it's like your merchandiser in a way. So a few of our brands, one of our brands, Pear, for example, who's like a sock brand, I don't know if you know or heard of them, they could leverage that platform and find, you know, what are going to be the best trading colours, and then implement that into the next product line. So that's not to say that we can't get creative with our designs, but we also need to make money to be able to keep continuing our businesses. So when we design a collection, we're like, okay, we know that this is going to work because it's proven. And then we look at shape. So what are going to be like the key shapes going forward? You know, what's going to trade the best, and what's the silhouette that people are wanting, because we want to deliver a product that actually is what people want and is on trend, but also has longevity. And then with the fit, for us, like, you know, we're extensive with our fit processes in terms of streamlining that. There's some really great PLM platforms, which we, you know, had a brief discussion before earlier. A PLM platform is a product life cycle platform, so it's essentially like how you manage to create your product. So that's through design, your tech packs, point of measure. This is like the technical design side. It could even be like how we communicate with our manufacturers through that platform and with clients as well, and how we implement feedback. Feedback is like after you do a fitting, you know, how do we communicate that to the factory? So the PLM system allows all of that to live in one platform, and so there isn't double ups of files and things like that. And then a platform like this PLM system called Cobra, for example, has the ability to even generate designs from vibe coding, which is like, you know, if you go into Sora, for example, and you type in like, give me an image of, you know, a blue dress, it'll like spit out an image of a blue dress. This platform in particular is like very, it's a bit more complex, and it's evolved a bit more where you can really vibe code and create something that is a beautiful garment, that's what you want, and then you're able to edit it from there as well. So it doesn't just kind of like give you a static image, you can then pull that into a tech drawing and then modify the tech drawing. So that cuts out a lot of time, and it's a really streamlined process. Obviously, if you don't have the ability, like the money to be able to invest in a platform like that, we build out systems. So we have a really clear system like within our business where it's like, we know that we have a timeline and we're going to take the garment through that product development process. So that's like using spreadsheets like Google Drive, for example, like really simple stuff, but just making sure that everyone in our teams, like across the process, the clients are across the process in that system that we have, so we don't kind of like veer off track and do work that we don't need to do, and everyone's really clear in communication. Another one is WhatsApp. we use WhatsApp and do our business on WhatsApp with all of our clients and our factories as well. So.
And can you mention the two platforms again? I'm sure people are wanting to write those down. So the first one was?
Particle, so Particle without an E.
Yeah, Particle.
Right?
So that's your research platform.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about the old days where I had to actually go out and pound the pavement and go into retail stores and look at what was selling and what wasn't, and I'd count how many blues were left and how many white ones were left.
Yeah, 100%.
It's changed a lot every month, so no
easy.
need to do that unless you want to get your steps up. And then the second one is more kind of, that's really your tracking of what's going on at any given time.
Yeah, like that's probably for
parts.
more advanced businesses that you know can, I guess, afford to invest in a system like that. But it's your product life cycle system, and there's a lot of systems out there. This one in particular that I came across is like probably the best that I've seen on the market. But of course, like if you're a startup, you can just use systems that work for you, whether that's like Google Drive, but ways to communicate with your customers. For us, like we're an agency, so it's like our clients and then our factories, and for us, like a place like Google Drive works really beautifully, and WhatsApp, so we're like quite primitive in that way. But you know, there's all these other things, like even you know, when we talk about systems, like if we do something once, we'll record it. You know, we'll record it, say, on Loom or like Read AI, and then that will be something that we always use. Like we're not repeating things more than 3 times. we're saving time that way.
Yeah. And I think with the PLM, I'll mention Quadrant as well.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned one that's a little bit more advanced. So just for everyone who might be interested, if you're a smaller business or a startup, there's a company called Quadrant. So just Google Quadrant, PLM, it's an Australian-based business, very accessible, and that's kind of your one source of truth where you can bring everything in, your range planning, your tech packs, your mood boards, everything, a critical path. So it's a really good, efficient end-to-end system. So for those, Christina, that are here, they are here to source. So I love that you mentioned the research, because I think setting the scene before coming to an expo like this, having your product assortment, having done your market research, knowing what you're looking for while you're here so that you make the best of your time. When kind of liaising with the manufacturers, are there any tips that you can leave the audience with around sourcing strategy in particular that they can use over the next couple of days?
I think when you look, like, it's hard if you're kind of going in for the first time, but I think being prepared is like really important. But obviously working with the right supplier is going to be your key advantage, because your product, alongside all your other strategies like your AI, your market, whatever it is in your business, but like your product, it needs to be amazing for you, to succeed at the right price. So if you're a startup, you would be going to the suppliers, fabric sourcing with them. Depending on their speed of sourcing, that really determines on like how good a caliber of factory they are. If they take a really long time and they don't actually follow your brief, for us, that would be a red flag. So, how well can you provide a brief, and how well are they going to match the brief with what they send back to you? So if you've asked for a blue pinstripe shirt and fabric and they send you green, something that you didn't ask for, then you know that they're probably not going to be right. And then, the speed and the quality of the sample process, how they communicate on, email and WhatsApp or whatever platform it is that you're using. And you'll see very early on if they kind of tick all those boxes, communication, quality, speed. But I would also recommend, and we'll show this at the end, we have a portal, it's a free membership on the Stacked website where we have like downloadable tools and resources that you can use. So for example, when you're speaking to any of the factories here, you have a stream of questions that you can ask, and it's free. So highly recommend downloading that and like running your eye over it and just going to the suppliers with the information, with the questions.
Yeah, spoiler alert, there are going to be some freebies for you to take away. Each of the speakers has organised some freebies for you, which are really important resources. So I agree, Christina. I think coming with your checklist, your mental or physical checklist, knowing what minimum order quantities you're looking for, thinking about the capability of that particular supply chain partner. Is it, mid-market? Is it high-end? Do they need to be capable using silk fabrics? Is it synthetics? What is it that you're looking for? I think having your hit list of questions is really important. Also ensuring that if there's any criteria around accreditation, ask those questions at the very beginning so that there are no surprises down the track. I think that's really important. And of course, in our industry, sustainability, conscious fashion has to be top of mind for all of us. So I did just want to mention the organisation called Seamless for those who are not aware. It's our Australian National Clothing Stewardship Scheme, and it brings brands and businesses and supply chain partners and key industry stakeholders all together to learn from each other essentially, and developing policy from end to end, which is evolving constantly. So definitely connect with Seamless, and also the Australian Fashion Council. They're an amazing resource, wealth of information, so much information around sourcing and end-to-end go-to-market. So just wanted to mention that. Now we're going to pivot back to e-commerce, Kelly. So we're going to dive into your specialty, and our theme here is going to be profitability and resilience. I think two things we need to go into 2026 and beyond with. So Kelly, what are the most effective strategies that you're seeing that are leading to profitable online growth right now?
Organic. So anything organic is profitable, or should be profitable, if you've got all your house in order. So I'm going to put an AI lens on it because that's all I know really. So if I think about some of the brands I'm working with, we're using AI to create content at scale, to be able to drive more organic traffic, so we reduce the reliance on ads and reduce the cost of acquisition. That's one area. Another area is really looking at the lifetime value of a customer. So I've got another brand that I'm working with, and our strategy and focus for this year has been the lifetime value of the customer, because we know if we can get the same customer to come back and spend more, then it's going to be more profitable than constantly. It blows my mind sometimes when I sit with retail brands and they've got this huge strategy and huge chunk of budget going into acquiring new customers, and they're not really doing anything with their existing customers who have bought from them before, who love their brand, who would buy from them again, but they're just not consistent enough with that relationship for that person to purchase from them. So this particular brand, we've spent the year really focusing on lifetime value, and we've looked at how do we increase their basket size and how do we increase their purchase frequency. So using things like win-back campaigns, again, we've used a lot of AI to do this, because it's very easy for me to sit up here and go, I'll do a win-back campaign and personalise for your customers, but the reality is that takes time, it takes capacity, it takes more people than some of you have got in your organisation. So we're using AI to first look at lifetime value. So firstly, with this particular client, we analysed lifetime value. We looked at average basket size, spend over a period of time. Then we went, okay, so our strategy for this year, or part of the strategy, is really to focus on enhancing that. So we basically worked on some AI cart recommendations that were aligned with the product that they were putting in the cart. We then looked at email flows and really worked hard on getting those email flows right. They've now gone from the average revenue per customer over, I think it was a 6 to 12 month period, and forgive me, I'm not making up numbers, but I can't remember exactly, but has gone from 322 to 522. Their retention rate has increased, the lifetime value has increased, and again, it comes back to the strategy piece. That's what we focused on that year, and that's what's kind of driven the results.
Is anyone surprised to hear that organic is what's driving growth? Maybe a show of hands, those who are surprised? No? No one's surprised.
But the interesting thing is, I look at most people's channels, paid is the top channel.
Correct.
For a lot of dysfunctional brands as well.
Yeah.
A lot of brands that this time last year came to me and said, paid is our top channel, and I said, you've got to work on getting your organic up. Now, I would say 50% of those that you tell do, and 50% of those you tell don't. And they react and they keep putting money into paid. I can tell you which ones are winning now and which ones are, are getting to a point where they're becoming unprofitable.
Yeah, so there's a bit of weaning off now and a bit of levelling up between your organic and your paid.
Yeah, it's an addictive dark black hole.
Yeah, because you just keep paying and you press the equals button and you've got that return. But as you said, it's almost like going back to the foundations of business. Yeah. So going back to the way we used to do things, essentially. I love that. Do you have anything to add to that, Christina, before I go into your actual question?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily, but it's just something that I've definitely seen a lot and also have experienced firsthand as well. And I guess a question would be like, in a simple way, like how could you slightly tip that in your favour?
Yeah.
What can brands do to start implementing more organic content? Like, what does that look like? So then they can like take the pressure off paying for the conversion.
Yeah. So I think one really quick and simple win, if you are running paid ads, is everyone should be running a lead acquisition campaign. But then I see brands running lead acquisition campaigns, so they're paying for people to come in the door and then they're not doing anything. These people are kind of sitting there. So it's not just the lead acquisition, it's then making sure you're organically, talking to these people. You've got a real structured process to keep connected to them and upsell them and on-sell them and cross-sell them and all of that good stuff. So that's probably the first one. The other one with organic content is around SEO and what we're now calling AIO, which sounds like a dirty word to me. I don't know why. I can't get it out of my head. But some of you might know it as GEO or AEO, whatever it is. It's optimizing for chat bots. So again, I think it goes back to the fundamentals of creating great content that people are driven to, that they can find, that Google will serve and chatbots will serve, and then you get that organic lead through, and then making sure your website converts when you get them there. It sounds really simple, I know it's not, but there are tools that we're using in AI to do that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Amazing. And how important do you both think community and customer loyalty programs are?
I think community was like one of the biggest topics, that I mentioned before, and I think that seems to be connecting with your audience. Obviously, is going to help with retention because you're giving back, time. Like for example, at Stackline we did a masterclass, and we really put in so much value to our existing clients. There was new ones, but I think that really goes a long way. And even give back strategy, if it's new or existing customers, just so they come back into the fold, providing them with something that's special, maybe from being an existing customer, could also help. But there's so many things that you mentioned, loyalty program as well. I don't know if you've ever heard of Yotpo. Do you do loyalty programs with what you do?
No.
Don't want to do any competitor.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, I went to a Yotpo seminar, and they've got a whole strategy of retention marketing, which is really great for e-commerce. So yeah, there's a lot that I guess you can find on that website as well.
Really important, I think, to your point, Kelly, nurturing the customers that you've got. Don't forget about them.
Yeah.
Just get them in and then just leave them hanging. It's like they've engaged for a reason. They're on your list for a reason.
It's like develop all your great content for the new people.
Yeah.
But all your old people, you just send crap stuff every week. It blows my mind sometimes.
Yeah, really treat them like VIPs. Thank you, Christina. Just from a product and sourcing point of view, when it comes to e-commerce, if we're laser focused on online growth specifically, are there design, margin or planning choices that can effectively make e-commerce models stronger that you've experienced?
I think having really strong imagery really helps. I think sometimes we forget that, beauty actually does go a long way. So when you go into a beautiful website and it's got great imagery showing your product, and it's not just a flat lay that's messed up, or seeing it in the actual context also really helps. So for example, with swimwear, having that on a model in the context of them using it, say at the beach, really helps. And then you could put your ghost images behind it. So really showing that product in action. And investing in great photography really, really helps. And I've seen websites, their sales increase quite significantly just from small changes like that. The way you merchandise it and how you can style it is really important. So for example, if you go on a website and then there's a set, so a top and a bottom, and then you have to search, you're buying the top and you have to search for the bottom, you don't want to be doing that. Having that automatically able to be purchasable, so then you can buy it together, which that is a big pain point, what I've noticed shopping online. Where's the bottom to this swimwear on the Cotton On website, for example? So I would say that is really key, really focusing on. This is interesting because I don't think many brands really think about this, but from a merch point of view, your core fashion and highlight, and what that means from a merchandise point of view. So when you analyze the data of your sales, so obviously there's party cool, you can look at what other brands are doing and what's selling, but really analyzing your data. We can keep selling and selling product, but we need to understand what are they actually buying. So for example, if I have a brand, someone might go onto my website because they saw, a campaign, for example, and it has Exie written all over it because it's this wild bodysuit. And then they jump on the website, but then they end up buying the black legging. That's because people are more inclined to buy a basic item, but you need to ensure that you've got enough of the core. So 70% of your range being core, a smaller percentage being fashion. So fashion could be core recolored into fashion seasonal colors, and then your highlight, which is the stuff, it's bait. Think of what's going to bring people in, because that's, in a way, the marketing funnel. You're bringing them in down the funnel to purchase a core. But what we need, and you're an expert in this, is how much stock you have. You need to be able to make the sales, and not selling out's great, but if you've got missed sales, then that's obviously missed revenue. So you need to make sure that you've got enough, maybe not too much, especially as a startup, because you don't want to invest too much in stock early on, and have a really good production operational system in place. So the supply chain, so really working with a great factory, knowing how long your lead times are for repeat orders. So for example, if you do have a best-selling black legging and you don't want to purchase so much stock, you know, how long is it going to take if you run out of, or you become fragmented with the sizes, to be able to like get that back in stock? So
I love that you've raised that. I think most people would be surprised to know that core makes up the majority of most brand sales. So ensuring that you've got that core product really down pat, really strategic. So they're your lines that are in stock pretty much every day of the week. You might update a silhouette once a year, but you'll update colours maybe every quarter or a little bit more frequently. So, but on that, I agree, merchandise planning has been a huge topic for me and my clients this year. So often, you know, a brand gets to around that $5 million mark and the cracks start to appear because they can't keep on top of their merchandise planning. They can't keep their best sellers in stock. They might be investing in product that just never sells through at, you know, a reasonable rate and so forth. So doubling down into merchandise planning, product assortment has been really quite lucrative for many of the brands that I've been working with this year. Style Arcade is a platform. If you haven't heard of it, definitely check it out. You need to be a little bit more established to be ready for it, but even if you're in the early days of business, it's good to have on your radar. And they put out amazing content, free content around merchandise planning. So if it's something you're not skilled in, I would recommend kind of starting now, no matter where you're at. But yeah, couldn't agree more. It's the age-old saying, having the right stock in the right place at the right time at the right price. And everything has to align for you to have that successive sell-through. Okay, finally we're going to get to AI. So the juicy bit of today. So we're going to talk about AI in practice, everyone. What to use, how to start. Kelly, this is your superpower, so we're going to start with you. I'd love for you to share with the audience how AI is improving day-to-day decision-making for e-commerce teams, and for you to share some specific examples of, you know, some powerful outcomes that are being delivered.
Yeah, sure. This is the stuff I could talk about underwater for hours. So stop me if I start going on a bit or waffling. So I find that, I want to take a little step back. I find that most of the retail brands, and I'm going from, you know, your big global multi-million-dollar organisations, Uber Eats revenue, right down to, you know, one person, you know, two people brands. They're at different stages in their AI journey, and I think there's for me, I see kind of 4 stages. The first one is that kind of prompt and response stage, where you're kind of using ChatGPT to, you know, just get an answer to certain questions and, you know, help with a little bit of content here, a little bit of analysis over here. And then the second stage is really going into custom GPTs. I'd love to know who's using it just for kind of prompt and response, like content, fixing up emails, you know, a little bit of research, yeah. The second stage is when you move into kind of customizing it. So that's when you start to teach it your brand, you know, you're building out custom GPTs, you're teaching it exactly, giving it your brand guidelines, you're giving it your design aesthetic, all of that stuff. How many are using it in that way? Yeah, a few. Brilliant. And then you move into AI automated workflows. That's when we start to build out end-to-end, you know, without human, but still needs human. Everything in AI still needs human. AI will never replace human, but it can process without human intervention, and then human comes in at the end and adds their superpower to it. Who's using it in that way? Not yet. And then the last one is AI agents. So AI agents is essentially, it acts on its own autonomously. It still needs measure and checks, but it's less linear in terms of a workflow. So let me give you a couple of examples. So the AI automation piece, which we're building out for some clients at the moment, we've just built a workflow that is a full content producer. So essentially what that content producer does is it goes out, it looks across trends. So we'll look at, you know, what's trending today in terms of clothing, design, searches on Google, what do customers want, what are people talking about in Reddit, you know, how uncomfortable a pair of leggings are, or that type of thing. So it takes all that data and information, and then it looks at SEO, and it says, okay, where are the big volume searches coming from? So it pairs it with that data. Then it goes onto your website. So for instance, it pulls all that information from your website, it gets your brand guidelines, which we feed into it, and it says, okay, well, let's start to craft some content that is on brand, on tone with the client, speaks to the customer, but is on trend as well and taking into account high volume keywords. So it crafts a piece of content, and the next stage it goes through is it will then go in and it will say, okay, go and have a look at all your competitors and see who is number one in Google and number one in chat search engines for that piece of content. Tell me what I need to do to beat that. It will then rewrite that piece of content to beat your competitors. Then, once it's done that, it will add in your links to your products and things like that, and out comes this beautiful piece of content that is on brand, on tone, in your voice, speaks to your customers, and is more likely to rank really highly in Google and in an SEO. So that's an AI automated workflow, and that's the sort of thing we're building at the moment. One of our clients has seen 6 times growth in their organic traffic from that process. And we built it in stages and then put the whole thing together, and lo and behold, it works, and it's a beautiful process. And it gives people that time to be human. The fourth one is what we're calling, what we will call an agent, a fully automated agent. Now, we're not quite there yet. It's still quite early days for that. But to give you an example of an agent, I use, I don't know if anyone has ever used Manus. So Manus is one I would urge you to go and have a play with in your playtime, whenever you feel like it. Go and have a play with Manus. It's a great tool for research, and it gives you a feel and flavour for what an autonomous agent does. So I can say to it, go and research fabric in this particular area, give me the breakdown of what the fabric is, give me the makeup of sustainability or whatever it might be, give it a score, and it will go off and do that job for me. And it will come back with a full end-to-end research report, documented. It will give me email addresses if I ask for that. So that's agent world. At the moment, an agent can process about 15 minutes on its own of data. I reckon in a year's time, that agent will be able to do 840 hours worth of work, equivalent to what we're doing now, in a year's time. So in terms of how we're seeing organisations implement it, I'm seeing organisations on that journey. Most organisations are still sitting in the prompt and response, but I'm seeing organisations starting to move from kind of training it into full automation agents that deep dive into vertical bits of their business and give them back time.
Amazing, so powerful. It's really mind-blowing, isn't it, as to where AI can apply across all pillars of a business. Kelly, for those who want to get started, so when a client comes to you and you typically don't know what you don't know, it's like, maybe I know what I want to solve, but how do I actually get there? Is that how the conversation starts with a client? It's okay, what are the repeatable tasks, or what is this sophisticated kind of outcome that you want to achieve, and you'll reverse engineer building the AI strategy? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so most brands will come to me and go, Kelly, how do we, especially CEOs, because they've read something in the Financial Bloody Times, and they're like, we need AI in our business, how do we create more efficiency? And I'm like, that's the wrong question. Let's, like you said, reverse engineer this. What process in your business today, and I know you can all think of one, what's that process that you wake up in the morning and you dread doing, and it takes you more time than you should, and you do it on rinse and repeat every single week, whether it's moving data from one spreadsheet to another, creating a bloody report that no one's going to read anyway, or is it, photography? Is it, expensive photography which costs a lot of money? What's that one process that we can look at in our business today and test out whether our AI can help us shorten that process? And it may not be that AI does the end-to-end process right now, but it could be that it helps to shorten that process. So one area, as I mentioned before, is photography. That's a massive one, and Marika, who's got the beautiful Anamara brand, is using AI in some of her photography, and she's just doing a mind-blowing job. Tools like Nano Banana. So if you were to say, photography costs me a lot of money, what I want to do is to be able to do some imagery for Christmas, but I don't want to have to reshoot 100 different photo shoots and spend thousands of dollars, but I want to tweak it. So one of the tools I use is a tool called Nano Banana. Don't search for Nano Banana because you'll get the paid version of it. Go to Google AI Studios and look at Nano Banana. So I can upload a picture of a fashion dress now and say, put that dress or that picture in a setting with a Christmas tree in the background. I mean, that's pretty basic. I'm not the creative here, you are. So you do a much better job at that. But, actually being able to use those tools. Batika is another one, to be able to use diverse models as well, and use flat lays, but then put them on models and then turn that into video content, which is crazy. You can take a flat lay from a flat lay onto a model of any shape or size and colour, and then that becomes a video. So using tools like that. I think I'm waffled. I don't even know if I answered your question. I've got to be honest.
You absolutely did,
okay,
but you're right on path, because I've just seen the timer come up too. So we're gonna move a bit more quickly. But I did want you to share, Kelly. You've mentioned a few, but for those in the audience who want to go and play and explore from today, and it is a long journey because I attended your AI Sprint course a few months ago, and I'm still working my way through what to implement, where to implement it, how to implement it. There was so much information, which was amazing, but it is a long game to start to implement unless you engage someone to do it for you. But for those who want to explore, what are some of the top platforms that you haven't already mentioned that you would recommend that they go out and have a play with? I know for me, Manus was massive. So I didn't know Manus existed until I attended your AI Sprint, and now I use it daily in my business for that deeper research or the report writing or anything that's more analytical than I think ChatGPT can give me a satisfactory kind of response to.
Yeah, the other one I really like is Claude. But again, one thing it's great to test these tools, but be clear on why you're testing them and what the outcome is you're trying to achieve, because you can end up in a very dark hole with AI, and 2 weeks later you come up for breath and you're like, I achieved nothing. So it's really, really understanding why you want to use the tools and testing them. Claude is another one I use a lot, and the reason I love Claude by Anthropic is it's an ethical model. So different models are tuned for different things. ChatGPT will validate you all the time. I don't know if you've noticed this, but whenever you ask it a question, it'll go, that's a great idea. Ask it a really terrible question, which is a really terrible idea, and see what it does. It will tell you it's a great idea. Claude is tuned to be critical. It's tuned to actually challenge you. And so when it comes to matters of people, sustainability, all those ethical issues, Claude is much better for that. Claude actually told me the other day, this is actually quite an embarrassing story. So I was asking it to write a letter of complaint, and it actually told me that I should step away from my computer because I was too emotional and take 24 hours to think about it. And when I said to it, just write the bloody email, didn't say bloody because when the robots take over they'll get me first, but when I said just write the email, it said no, I've got boundaries, and it wouldn't write the email. So do you know what I did? I went to ChatGPT and that said you're wonderful, and with the email for me. So Claude is a great model if you really want to be challenged strategically. Like if you're coming up with your plan and you want someone to kind of really push back and ask you the difficult questions, Claude's great for that. In terms of fashion specifically, I've mentioned Batika. HeyGen is doing some awesome stuff. Like HeyGen is a video tool. I can sit here and be speaking in 100 different languages to you right now, and I can do that without, on video, obviously not here in person because they haven't done holograms yet, but I can do that on video with the push of a button. So HeyGen is one that I would definitely have a play with, but they're probably the main ones that I keep coming back to.
Yeah, amazing. Definitely hope you captured all of those, everyone, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy exploring, because I know I have been, and yeah, it's a lot of work. You need to set away, apart some time or allocate some time every week to do it, but it will definitely enrich your, I think, knowledge bank and your productivity in your business. So definitely something to take on board. Christina, we are tight for time, but is there anything specific that you're seeing at the forefront of product when it comes to AI and technology that the audience should be have on their radar and take away with them today?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the limitations say of AI and developing a fashion garment, there is still limitations. We've really tried to like get what we want, and we still have to really be the designers. So just letting you know from our point of view, yeah, like there's limitations there, but we've created some pretty cool stuff through a lot of prompt, which probably would have been quicker if we just did it ourselves. But in terms of something that I have seen that maybe also it's maybe similar, and you probably have come across it, called Cuttable. So it's a AI tool, and it pulls in all of the data from your brand, so it'll like scan all of the platforms that you're on, pull in your brand DNA, and then it will also spit out imagery like content for you, videos, and it's usually used for actually paid ads. And I'm not a huge advocate for paid ads, but anyway, I'm going to tell you about this. And it will do everything within the rules of Meta, so like how much text you can use, all of the different sizes. Like you don't have to be the one to like cut everything down into specific sizes, which Meta you need to do to run ads. It does it all for you. So I personally found that really cool when I came across it. We're going to be playing with it ourselves at Stacked. So yeah, there's a 14-day free trial. I should be an ambassador.
I know, an affiliate. There's an affiliate opportunity for you right there. Now this question to both of you, I think this is really important for, again, some of the things that we've spoken about today in terms of creating content with AI. What safeguards or principles can help teams use technology without losing the human connection and the voice of a brand? We know that there is some controversy and backlash around the certain use of AI, and there's been a little bit of pushback from the creative area of our industry. So is there anything that the audience needs to know that you would like to pass on?
I'd say, firstly, education is absolutely key. I think a lot of teams are off doing magical, wonderful things with AI, with brands, and are not necessarily educated on the risks and mitigating the risks. There was a brand that I was connected to where one of their junior staff members had uploaded their email database into ChatGPT. It's crazy stuff like that actually, when you looked at the organisation, they didn't have a policy around this stuff. So, I mean, that would be common sense to me, but it's making sure that everyone's educated on the potential risks and you have a policy in place. I think having terms and conditions on your website around AI is something that most brands don't have, and I find that really scary, because if someone comes back and says, you used AI to sell me that product, I'm guessing in about 6 months' time they're going to have a case to go back and say, I want a refund on it because I didn't know you were using AI. So having an AI policy, being open about the fact that you're using AI, and just foreseeing some of the risks. The UGC content piece around AI, I think, is insane. I'm not a believer in using AI for UGC, because I think there's some dangers there down the track where they go, well, you use something unreal to sell me something real, and I want my money back. So I think it's mitigating the risks. It's really thinking through, because there isn't any legislation at the moment, there isn't any real guardrails, thinking through those guardrails and as quickly as possible putting something together for your teams and you personally to say, this is how we're going to use it, and we're actually going to be open with our customers about how we're using it as well. We're going to have that published on our website.
Amazing. Sound advice, Christina?
I think yeah, just exactly the same thing. And I remember you showed us the video. There was a video that Elizabeth showed us, which was an ad or like a correct piece of creative content that a brand had done. Was it?
Yeah, it was a brand that created a campaign using AI, and we were just reading the backlash in the comments. But they had recreated the trend of the cake. I can't remember what the cake trend is called, but it's basically their product is a cake, right? But they used AI to make the cake instead of having someone bake the cake. And they're a footwear brand that is known for their high craftsmanship and bespoke processes. So they were getting absolutely smashed in the comments saying whoever used AI for this campaign should be, let go immediately. And so there was a lot of customer dissatisfaction. But so I did share it with the ladies to say, what's your point of view? Because I thought it was actually quite clever and creative. I'm like, this is super cool. And so did, both Kelly and Christina. But there is that ethical side that we do have to be aware of. So what's on brand for you? What do you feel is going to resonate with your audience? It's going to actually attract them and not repel them. And look, some people are doing certain things also to get those eyes on brand. that is a little bit controversial. So you've just got to think about, what's on brand for you. But that was a really interesting one. Ladies, we're almost at time. We're going to go to the audience Q&A in 1 minute. But just to wrap up for the audience, what are you both most excited about for 2026 and beyond that brands should prepare for now?
I think, AI virtual reality is like a big one. We're seeing it overseas with like fitting rooms and trying on experiences, and this is more of like a retail-led thing. But they're, at H&M in, I can't remember which European country, but they've like tested out a virtual reality room where there's like, it's an immersive experience where there's like music and it's like this crazy wall that goes on and on and on. It's like an infinity screen, and there's like the ability to try on product that's not actually real. It's like product that you can see like on the website, for example, and then it's like projected onto you like through VR. So this for me is like very exciting. I think Europe and USA like really far ahead more than Australia, but it'll be really interesting to see who jumps on to that technology here and how retail will become a bit more of an immersive experience, because retail as we know it, it's like getting really stale, and it's like, how do we engage with our customer and have that retention and that excitement again? And I think this could be the way to do it and get like the next generation hyped.
Amazing, love it. It's just, again, mind blown where it's going. Kelly?
I think the really quick one for me is I'm so excited about AI doing all the crap work that none of us want to do, so it frees us up to do more of this in-person, human creativity stuff. So that's my excitement.
Yeah. I'm excited about your world. I want to be living in your world, in AI, e-com and technology going next level. Thanks everyone. You're going to see on the screen in a moment the freebies that we've all organised for you. So you can scan these QR codes and they will take you to some free downloadables. So the first one here is Navigating the Global Sourcing Expo. You are here. If you are coming back, I recommend that you download that. There's also some free mini courses on the Fashion Quick website around sourcing strategy, tech packs, costings and so on. Christina has kindly organised her free membership for you, so you can jump on the Stat Studio free membership. We've got this exciting book from Kelly. So Kelly, your book is coming soon, so you can sign up to win a copy, but you can also pre-order a copy as well, so which I've already done.
Yeah.
So don't miss out on those. So grab those, and Patty, wherever you are, we'll go to the audience Q&A.
Round of applause for the fantastic ladies. So much to unpack there. People obviously, personally, some of the stuff that I wrote down, Particle, I learned about Particle. Recommend use it as a merchandiser, calls itself on LinkedIn the #1 source for data-driven e-commerce analysis. Claude is tuned to be critical and apparently has boundaries, whereas ChatGPT, rocket emoji, it's like a puppy dog and will always tell you everything is great. Paid is the top channel for a lot of dysfunctional channels. The brave new world of AIO, optimising for chatbots, and analyse your data. What are they actually buying? Any questions from the audience? Yes.
Hello, my name is Tam. I'm Vietnamese. My question for Kelly is, I know now a lot of brands using the AI for their customer data, and so do you think how like the manufacturing countries like China, Vietnam or Indonesia, how can we use the AI to get ready for our customer? Because most of our orders still come from like Australia or US. That means like if we not get ready, so we cannot survive in this industry. So do you think how manufacturing countries can use the AI for their countries to get ready, or like do you think what is the customer gonna expect in this country?
I think there's two things you can use AI for quite quickly. One is to reverse engineer the process so that you go and source your customers, because actually your customers are quite easy to source. They've all got websites. So using AI as that research agent to go and find your customers so that you can then proactively reach out to them. The second piece is really, and this is what we're doing a lot with research with retailers, is really using AI to understand who the customer is and what their needs are. We pull a lot of data in from Google Analytics, from Shopify store, from from the web, from Reddit, from LinkedIn to really understand in detail who that customer is, because if we can talk to that customer in their language, you know, we can talk to them about their problems, we can talk to them about the benefits that we can bring to them with our product, our conversion rate goes up, and we've proven that time and time again. You know, there was one project I was working on, our conversion rate went up by 20% because we used AI to really understand the customer, and then we talked to them in the way they wanted to be spoken to. So I think you can use it as a customer acquisition tool.
Thank you.
Hope that answers your question.
Any other questions?
Hi, more of a marketing question maybe, but how would you recommend dividing up the paid ads versus organic ads, like in a percentage?
It depends on your brand completely. It's a really hard one to answer. I would just, if your paid ads is your top channel, that's where I would start to be concerned, and what I would be looking for is to get email and organic as your top channel. So in terms of percentage, I've got brands that, you know, 30% of it is paid ads. I've got brands that 5% of it is paid ads, and it really does depend on the brand and the mix. Yeah. Sorry, I can't answer that off the bat. What type of product is it?
Activewear.
Activewear. Let me have a think. Let me have a think, I'll come back to you.
Thank you so much.
There's another question somewhere here. Is there another question somewhere around here?
At the front, Patty.
Sorry?
Just at the front here, I think. Yeah.
I've got a question about security, cybersecurity, and using AI apps and programs such as collecting data.
Yeah, it's a great question. Not one I can answer in -2 minutes, but a couple of things with cybersecurity. The rules are very grey at the moment. We're all operating in a very grey space, and you know, a bit like mobile back in the day when I first worked in mobile, we kind of have to just be comfortable with grey at the moment. Absolutely, there are things you can do to mitigate that risk. One thing that you can all do straight away is go into your ChatGPT if you've got a paid version, and you should have a paid version because you've got more privacy and control and security. Go into ChatGPT and turn off the setting that says feed ChatGPT my data, because that will mitigate some risks around the data that you're putting into it. In terms of cybersecurity as a whole, you know, I look at Telstra and Optus that have just been burnt. I look at Commonwealth Bank that have just been burnt. And to be honest, I go, well, and that wasn't even using AI. And I just think we are opening a whole big black dark hole with AI, and there are going to be issues. So I think just being really clear on how you're using it and what you're plugging it into, and having an audit trail of that for your customers right now, I think that's the best way you can mitigate risk. So if you're going to plug in your Gmail, or just making sure that is documented, so that if something happened, you could go back and say, oh, it was because of the integration between my ChatGPT and my Gmail. So that's a really basic level response, but I could talk about cybersecurity for hours, but I won't. Sorry.
Any other questions? I mean, and you know, the issue at what happens when they get hacked, like ChatGPT gets hacked. I mean, it's just, it is just. Any other questions? No? Another round of applause for our wonderful ladies.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Christina, for joining me. Thanks, everyone. What a great turnout. Hope you really enjoy the Expo. Thank you for tuning in to Fashion Business Mindset. We'd love to stay connected. Fashion Equipped is a leading Melbourne-based consultancy, partnering with fashion and lifestyle brands, retailers, wholesalers, and industry leaders globally. We specialise in strategic advisory, growth planning, and brand elevation, empowering fashion businesses to scale with confidence and impact. I invite you to head to fashionequipped.com.au to join our mailing list and receive the monthly edit, your go-to source for industry insights, business optimization strategies, and free trend reports. While you're there, explore our consulting services, our online learning and mentoring programs. We'd also love to connect on Instagram. You can follow us at Fashion Equipped and at Fashion Business Mindset for more industry insights and inspiration. We're here to help you navigate the business of fashion and take your brand to the next level.
This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.